All right, so we are going to start notes over the decolonization and the genocide going on in Africa. As we have talked about with other countries and other areas with decolonization, decolonization isn't always a great thing, and that's definitely the case in Africa. So you're going to have strong nationalism, nations taking pride in independence and taking pride in themselves. That's going to lead to the decolonization of sub-Saharan Africans. So their imperial powers leaving, these once colonies are now going to become their own independent nations. And while the Europeans were there, some of the Africans are going to be educated. And this is going to create a small, educated elite class. And they are going to be the ones who lead these nationalist movements and lead these movements for independence. This is also going to be driven by the promise of democracy. They're going to be very impressed with the freedoms of the United States and Great Britain and other European powers are going to get after World War II. And the spread of democracy is going to motivate these African countries to want this want to be free from their colonial powers and to be independent. One of those educated elite nationalist leaders, his name is Kwame Nkrumah, and he is going to lead the British colony of Gold Coast to independence. And he is going to do that by following the lead of Gandhi. He's going to stage demonstrations, he's going to boycott British goods, and he is eventually going to be jailed by the British for his efforts. But he is going to end up winning the independence for Gold Coast, and it's going to change its name to Ghana, after the ancient civilization that we've even talked about of Ghana. And he is going to be the first Black African colony to win its independence. So Ghana becomes the first Black African colony to win its independence. Okay, although this nationalism and independence movements is going to fuel these states to reach their independence. However, that doesn't always mean things are going to be great. Most of these independent nations are going to become what's known as one-party states, meaning the party that fights for independence is what's going to become the only lawful party. So there's not going to be elections or a way for people to choose their leaders. It's just going to be this one party coming into control. And this is going to pave the way for dictatorship and autocracy in some of these places. Also, tribalism. We talked about this when we talked about imperialism, of how at the Conference of Berlin, when lines were drawn, no regard was made to tribes and ethnicities. And so now these nations are going to be made up of several different tribes, and this is going to cause a lot of conflict and a lot of unrest within these nations as they gain independence. All right, so some more unrest going on in Africa is going to be taking place in South Africa. In 1948, the white population of Afrikaner, or these Dutch Boers who live in South Africa, they're called Afrikaners, they're going to institute a policy of apartheid. And apartheid is literally racial segregation, meaning the white population of Afrikaners and the Black population living in South Africa could not intermarry. They couldn't live in the same regions. Everything was very divided. And one of the leaders in that movement to end apartheid is going to be Mr. Nelson Mandela. And you guys have probably heard of him. You've seen him speak, seen movies about him, but he is still alive today. And here is a picture of Nelson Mandela, and he is going to be the leader of the African National Congress, and he is going to be imprisoned in 1962 for his anti-apartheid beliefs and the anti-apartheid movement. And during apartheid, the relationship with the West in South Africa was very strained. The United States and other Western nations did not approve of the oppression of the Black South African population, and they did not approve of this policy of apartheid. So at this time, white South Africans eventually elect a new president, and his name is F.W. de Klerk, and he comes in promising to improve foreign relations, and the way that he's going to do that is by ending apartheid, because when apartheid is ended, then the foreign relations are going to start to improve. This is going to lead to the release of Nelson Mandela and other anti-apartheid activists from prison, and they are going to write a new constitution that's going to incorporate a multiracial state. And by 1994, Nelson Mandela is elected as the first black president of South Africa. And this is F.W. de Klerk seen with Nelson Mandela here. So the end of apartheid is going to be a very big step in the movement to try and solve some of those problems in South Africa. But you're going to have continued problems in other parts of Africa. In Rwanda and Burundi, especially in Rwanda, you're going to have these small, densely populated countries in Africa. And the Hutu population is the minority, and the Tutsi population is the minority. And in 1974, there became intense fighting between the Hutu and Tutsi people. In 1994, this is going to resurface when Rwanda's Hutu president was mysteriously killed in a plane explosion, and this is obviously going to be blamed on the Tutsi population. And so this event is going to renew all of the tension and the bloodshed between the two tribes, and the government is going to back the Hutu troops, and they're going to begin exterminating Tutsi minority population. And so they're basically going to unleash a genocide on the Tutsi population. And like I said, the Tutsi people were blamed for the murder of their president. And about 850,000 people were killed in this war. And you guys have probably heard of the film Hotel Rwanda, but that's what this film is about. It's about a hotel clerk or a hotel owner who allows Tutsi minorities to seek refuge in his hotel in Rwanda. But it's just a horrific, horrific genocide going on at this time. You are also going to have another genocide in Africa in the region of Darfur in the Sudan. And you can see here's a map of the Darfur region. But since the 1990s, there's been a huge conflict over the farmland in western Sudan. And a militia, an Arab militia, is going to be formed and the government's going to back this militia, and it's going to be called the Janjaweed. And the Janjaweed is made up of mainly Arab tribesmen, and the Janjaweed is going to commit acts of genocide, basically trying to exterminate the black African population of Darfur. They're going to participate in murder. There's going to be massacre. They're going to force people from their homes. The United Nations has called for the Janjaweed to be disarmed. But since then, 200,000 people have died and 2 million have been displaced from their homes. So this genocide in Darfur continues to happen as the Janjaweed unleashes murder and massacre on the black African community in Darfur. All right, so number one, let's do our quick check. Number one, I want you to explain the role of Kwame Nkrumah in the independence of Ghana. Number two, how did Nelson Mandela change history in Africa? And I want you to explain the genocide that is taking place in Rwanda and Darfur. What are the motives and kind of what's happening in those areas?